Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, April 23rd, to the week. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I could use one. This is Nadex Morning Analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me, my good friend, Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple. And we are going to talk about a couple of potential hot spots in the markets today. Before Brian and I jump over there, I do need to share this quick disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And lastly, this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your educational purposes. All right, I'm going to flip this over here, but here's really what we're looking at today. We had a little bit of a shock to the markets yesterday. If you weren't paying attention, markets were clipping along just fine. And then Biden made some off-the-cuff remarks that he's interested in a 40% capital gains tax on anyone making more than $1 million a year. That's a really significant leap in the capital gains tax, and the markets didn't like it. People who I guess who make more than $1 million a year really went at it. The markets reacted. We had a pretty significant sell-off. Now, in reality, is that going to happen? Unlikely. And he could just be posturing for getting some type of increase in the cap gains rate, but 40% is just was the markets looked at it as cuckoo land. It's unlikely Congress would ever pass a rate that high, but it did certainly shock the markets. They did come back a little bit. They're trying to come back into the green a little bit today. We're going to take a look at the NASDAQ. So we'll do some analysis on the NASDAQ, and then we're going to talk about a market, when you're looking for volatility and movement, a market that we haven't covered yet, but we have another energy market. We always talk about oil. Oil because people need it for their cars. People also, airplanes use it, jet fuel. There's also heating oil number 2, which farmers use to heat their barns and such. But there's another heating energy product, nat gas. We never really talk about natural gas. Yesterday, the inventory reports came out. There was a pretty significant move in nat gas. We'll take a look at that. So, Brian, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ, sure, and then we'll jump over to nat gas. I mean, other than that, there's not a whole lot else going on, and then we'll just, we'll probably wrap it up for the week.
Yeah, I would say so far right now, as far as not a whole ton, we knew we had a lot of news early this morning. I would say that the two biggest things to highlight from this morning already, which may actually help stimulate the overall indices today a little bit, was first, retail sales here at 2 a.m. Again, 5.4% when the expectation was supposed to be 1.5. That's a huge difference. Huge difference in the UK. There's actually, a couple different articles out there today talking about the looser pandemic restrictions result in the fastest UK private sector growth since late 2013. So, again, that's big movement. We've been mentioning how the pound is really, the UK in general seems to really have things figured out with their restrictions, with their vaccinations. Remember, they're on everybody gets dose 1 first before we worry about 2. It's a little bit different here. And their numbers have reacted. Their retail sales have reacted. Their services, their manufacturing, everything is looking good. You can see that both of those here, manufacturing and services, also all moving in the right direction. Now, one thing of note for the European Union, Germany's flash services, it was something that we mentioned yesterday, that they were going through the third wave, and it's been kind of rough for them. They're approaching that magic 50 number, right? They were expected to come in at 51.1. They came in at 50.1. Remember, 50 is where you're in the economic expansion versus the contraction. They're really, really close to going backwards, which, again, doesn't help the overall EU. Now, everybody else in the EU did okay. Again, the expectation for, the French flash services, they're a little bit more open. They're not having a second wave. Again, not too bad there, right? So again, this is some positive movement overall. Again, we're going to get our U.S. flash services coming in at in about an hour from now, and that's exactly manufacturing. Again, it's forecast to be 60.9. We're not really close to the magical 50 number, but again, if there's a shock to the downside, say we come in at like 59, where it was last time, that does show it's not growing. Excuse me, not growing as much as what we originally thought. So again, that could provide some negative intonations or negative kind of feelings for the market. So here's what we had, and as you mentioned, I mean, here is the bombshell of a drop down, and again, that's been a stance that capital gains needs to go up. I mean, the policy so far coming from President Biden has been raise all the taxes, tax the heck out of the rich. Capital gains is an interesting one to go after because if you think about the most vocal Democrats, Nancy Pelosi would be one of them. Remember, Nancy's husband is a trader, right? He does trade the markets. He's an absolutely huge position in Tesla. We heard about that a few weeks back. Or actually, I guess he initiated it in December. So he makes more than $1 million a year. So will Nancy vote for that one? I don't know. So it's kind of one of those things, any raise is going to be, he's going to start whittling, at his kind of biggest power player. So who knows? But anyway, biggest question is, it dropped here. You would expect a drop like that. But interesting enough, we drew this kind of intraday curve level yesterday, right? Where our tops and bottoms, and again, where our sentiment should be. If you take your levels, look at this. If I extend the level across, we talked about if we can break through the 139.460, the 139.46, we can shoot high. But what did it do? It hit it, and then magically the news came out, and you could say, hey, listen, this is voodoo. How did you know it was going to drop there? The answer is I didn't know it was going to drop there. But I do know that that's an area where sellers have come in the past, this 139.40 area. And when the news came out, what did it do? It hammered down, and where did it go? It went right down to this 13. Yeah, right down to the old level. And remember, we warned this level, hey, listen, this is a level, if we can break, and it will break eventually, we're looking to get short out of that position, right? I didn't expect it was going to do it in 2 candles, but it came down and it used that level and bounced, which again is another hit into that level, which I love, right? The fact that it's another hit in that level just shows me that, hey, there's even less buyers that could slow me down next time. So, if we get negative today and this starts to roll over because maybe that flash manufacturing number is not good, or we hear something else coming out of, there's definitely going to be a capital raise or I'm moving it forward and I think it's great and yada, yada, all the benefits of raising it. That's kind of not necessarily bad, as well as there's one other piece of news I want to mention. This is another article that came out today that says U.S. inflation indicators are flashing red alarm. You may say, what does inflation have to do with the NQ and Biden? Well, I mean, they're saying right now that inflation is already in the pipeline points to 4% year over year, which is higher than what Powell said. Remember, interest
2%.
rates high. Yeah, he wants like 2.5. He said moderately higher, so I'm assuming like that means 2.5%, not 4. That will be double what the mandate is.
Right.
So again, does seeing higher inflation and running as crazy as we are right now, does that help the stock markets, the stock market indices? No, it doesn't, because again, raising interest rates. So capital gains up, raising interest rates and inflation up, and again, gold's moving because of it. But I think we have an opportunity here. If we get negative today, I mean, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to get negative, come in base here, and drop, or again, maybe we'll say, okay, maybe 40 was too much. Maybe we'll only do like 25 or 30. And the market's like, whoo, dodge the bullet, and it goes right back up to that same level. So I would say we're due for some movement today, and it's either Feel Good Friday or, Grumpy Weekend. It's one of the two.
Grumpy. I am going to bring up the NASDAQ real quickly on the Nadex platform. I have not updated. Here's our old levels. I love that you just did that because I am actually going to drag the old level across. I mean, it really is amazing how if you leave these on your charts, we've actually got 3 of these levels that all came into play. I love this. This is actually really kind of handy.
It's magic. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have magic. I use the force.
All I did was extend out a chart that we had already had on here. So how could you potentially play this over at Nadex? And on a day where anything could happen. I mean, we are actually thinking, maybe this was going to be a level up here at 13,930 where it would punch higher. Maybe it was going to punch through there. But really what it is these just turn into significant levels, and you don't know what's going to happen. And that was a surprise statement from Biden, and it just drove it all the way down. And it's amazing how it came around, touched this level.
And let me just add to this too.
Yeah.
You may not. I mean, again, yeah, it did hit that level, and if you could have got short from there, I mean, it is a level that it hit multiple times. You could have taken a small risk trade short, but had you gotten short in that position, you wouldn't have known Biden was going to make that comment. That's 100% pure luck. That people are like, "Oh, I waited all day for this." They didn't know it was coming. Nobody knew it was coming except Biden and his kind of immediate team. I don't even know if Biden knew at the point when he made that comment or what the implications of that were.
He could have been riffing.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you see a move like that, it's not just about where price is going, it's where you need to collect your profit from. So, Todd, can you flip it back real quick for this one?
Yeah. Oh, hang on a second. Hang on. Let me flip this back over for you.
Yeah,
Sure.
flip it back over. So,
I mean,
here's the thing.
this is a great lesson of surprise news and what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, you may not have known that this is where Biden was going to speak at, or if he was speaking, could he have said? I mean, again, anytime that Biden speaks, anytime that Powell speaks, those are big movers. Knowing that you're here, maybe if you could have got into like a knockout or a small call spread, say, hey, Biden's talking, there could be some crazy movement in this one, right? You could have done that before he mentioned it, but if you didn't, then you got to look at where is the opposing sellers coming in. But we already know our buyers. We already know that we had a level here. Buyers had stepped in here, here, and here. So when you're looking for a profit target, because remember, you don't have to hold every position till expiration. You could have said, hey, listen, if we come down here and we tag this 13,717 area, I need to take myself out of the trade, because what happens if you had a binary down here or something down here and then it kicked up and got you? You'd be like, oh, it was close, but it got back. How did it know? Again, guys, it's not that how did it know. We know there's buyers and sellers here, right? We know there's buyers. If you're waiting for this to drop all the way down to here, that's called greed, and that's why you lose trades. So remember, these zones that I draw, the supply and demand zones, they are meant to help you get into trades, but also get out of trade.
Excellent.
So yeah, so you could have taken this one off early and been totally fine with it, right? Without having it retrace back up on you.
All right, you know what? Because I know we're running out of time here. Let's do a quick jump over to nat gas and we'll wrap it up. Because I think it's worth it. And I love that we're talking about something that we don't always talk about. But this is under the auspices of a chart is a chart. If there's volatility and something might be moving around, it might be something you want to take a peek at.
Yeah. So I mean, back to kind of, again, I'm not thumping my chest on this one, but we know when news events are coming out. If there's not a holiday in the beginning of the week, we know every single Wednesday at 10:30 there's going to be an economic oil report. We know Tuesday night is API. We know that Wednesday is EIA. Well, we also know on Thursdays at 10:30, unless there's an oil that got bumped, then it'll be 11. We know that there's going to be natural gas storage. Well, natural gas is one of the other contracts. It's a futures contract that we can trade at Nadex. Well, we know it's at 10:30. Right? We could have looked at this and said, okay, listen, we're pushing down. Is this a long opportunity before news? And the answer is yeah. When it came out right here, it blew higher. Why? Because this was much, much lower than expected. It was supposed to be 47, came in at 38. Big difference. Popped up. Now we're kind of in that, all right, are we in a parabolic retracement type move? Now, it is cold outside right now, so it's always hard to say, hey, listen, we should get short natural gas because it's cold.
I won't need it anymore.
But, I mean, like I said, Mother Nature is a little bit crazy in the spring. It was 70 last week. It's 35 this week. It'll be 70 again next week. So whenever you see a big movement in price like this, once the market readjusts, it provides opportunity. And again, I've said it a million times, a chart is a chart is a chart is a chart. If I saw this in a currency and I saw this come up and start basing, I'd be looking to figure out, all right, how can I get this short? How do I, get the factors in to where I could, take this short position? Could we be looking at this? Is it a position today? I mean, it's tried to push back and now it's kind of rallied back up again as the U.S. traders coming online. Right? But is there an opportunity here? And I would say, yeah, probably. This is such a huge push up again. It is spring. Natural gas is kind of going out of favor. So fundamental reasons, technical reasons, I think there could be a rollover, whether it's today or maybe even next week. I mean, depending on what we do, I think there's probably some type of a minor short in here today from either of these levels at 1,758 or even the 177. I'm sorry, the 2,771. Yep. But if not, next week, once we close, I'd be looking for something like this to come probably back down again, especially when, the heat rolls back in again and people are like, oh, I need the air conditioning again. Right?
And it's one of those that gas isn't going to help, isn't going to cool you down.
No, it doesn't do air. It only does heat.
Yeah. So I am going to, let's just go up here to the markets. I'm going to just go to the binary options down to the commodities. And, if we always talk about the top two, oil and gold. We sometimes talk about silver, nat gas. We've just never really taken a peek at. But again, a chart is a chart. And if there's going to be potential opportunity, I'm just going to drop it up here, and it might move around. And the nice thing about binary options, remember, in the end, all of these are either going to be 0 or 100. So you can make a prediction. Is it going to stay up here? Do you think it might roll down some? And you can try to, you can choose. How can I get short these? What could I do? Where would nat gas need to go for me to profit from these? Or, hey, I think it might roll down, but it's definitely still going to stay above certain levels. Well, these are all still, these levels down here are actually low probability, high probability trade that it'll stay above here. There's still 5.5 hours to go. Just thought we would just make you aware there are other markets out there. All right, Brian, I'm going to flip it back to you. Is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap it up today?
Not so much. I mean, there's a little bit of gold action this morning. Gold is hitting that level again, and again, having that inflation kind of chart out there will throw gold in a little bit of a tizzy. I would say the pound positioning for next week as well. You're seeing the pound reach down. I'd be looking for levels, and again, their market is almost closed, so they haven't really been able to kind of get the full benefit. But like I said, this is kind of that profit taking, preparing us for next week. And again, you can see we came off this level down here, right, in the overnight. So I think pound is definitely something in play. Again, the euro pound is pushing higher. But for the most part, right now, I mean, I guess the other one, because we mentioned natural gas, oil as well, that 60.93 level has been an area we've been looking for. So again, if we get a little bit of more of a push down, maybe we'll get a benefit of this one popping as well. So
excellent. All right, with that, if you've got any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. We're here to help. Can't help you if you don't reach out. Brian is also very accessible. support@keeptradingsimple.com. You can email him there. And with that, really, what did we talk about today? NASDAQ, we talked about the equity indices, all took a hit yesterday on Biden's statement. And I think people are starting to digest the reality of that, but we'll see how this ultimately plays out on a Friday. Gave you some levels in NASDAQ. A new market, nat gas. The inventory report came out yesterday. It made a move. There might be some potential opportunity over at nat gas. With that, want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. Good luck today trading, and enjoy your weekend. Brian and I will catch you again on Monday. Thanks, everyone.